Welcome along, and this is a quick addition to the last video because on Thursday we got an addition to the new balance patch and we've had a few more balance tweaks. Before we get to those, the other stories may be dripping back slowly with this article about the Federation and the first community goal for a while. Felicia Winters is still tied up with the disasters on Rhea, and apparently the Federation's efforts in the war means they've spread their forces too thin in some parts of the Federation, and criminals are taking advantage of this to move in. That's designated criminals, not the ones in office. It's a standard two-handed community goal: combat and trade. Bring supplies or kill the NPC pirates. A good chance to try out different weapons in a new Python Mark II, which offers many options and weapon combos for PvE. Bit of a shame we haven't got the T8 to see its hauling capacity, but there you go. There is a CG. The stories are slowly coming back after a complete dearth of narrative for a month or two now. So baby steps, but we're slowly getting some story back. The Spire system spread pushback that we talked about last time, the ability of using Spire sites to clear outer systems and for those systems to be ignored if they're already filled up, and for the Spires to start targeting the next ones in. Much more useful to use them that way. We're now told that also on top of that, it will no longer target alert systems. So if one of the outermost systems is an alert, it will be ignored completely and a control system chosen instead. This is a good move. I like this. It's already good that control systems can be cleared without Spires now, but if we're going to use them, it's also good to know that they'll only affect the systems we want them to, rather than any new alerts that might pop up in the same week and happen to be at the distance for the Spire to clear. This was the exact problem that held us up at Indra before the rebalancing. Indra can always use its maximum amount of alerts every week, and we didn't want the Spires to be wasted clearing them when they could be clearing controls instead. And the only way to make sure Indra couldn't create any new alerts for a few weeks was to try and clear almost 100 systems in 1 week the week before. Now, with alerts being ignored by Spire sites, the task of clearing them and using the Spires can be separated into 2 different activities, which helps out a lot when it comes to strategic planning. We can have one arm dealing with the alerts while another deals with the Spires and controls. Uninhabited alert systems are also less challenging to contest. Additionally, alternative activities to Orthrus hunting within these systems, escape pod rescues, interceptor hunting, have received significant boosts. Well, I've been doing salvage in the unpopulated alerts around Indra, as well as some Orthrus kills, and I can confirm that both are working well to clear unpopulated alerts without taking too much or too little work. Yeah, they've made them a little bit easier, but it's not too easy. It's still a fair amount of work, and it would still take a decent sized team to clear all of the alerts in the week. So again, we're getting the balance more to how, if it had been like this all along, we probably wouldn't have been that much further down the line than we are now, but it would have been steady, and we'd have had less people burning out. So these are all good moves to me. I think they got the balance about right here, and as a rough guide, if you're in an unpopulated alert, about 100 salvage items gives you about 10% progress in an unpopulated alert at 25 light years from a Titan. That's a ballpark figure, but it's good enough to work with as a rough estimate. Scouts have received a significant boost to war contribution as well. They don't seem to have that big a boost in the unpopulated alerts, so they probably count for a lot more in populated alerts, invasions and controls. The value of activities in an unpopulated alert now are as follows: Orthrus kill, then occupied escape pods, then black boxes, then scout kills, and then damaged escape pods. Wreckage components are worthless, so put them on your ignore list, but be aware there's also a material called wreckage components that you get when you destroy scouts. That's a material, not a cargo canister, so it's a different thing, and they're fine to pick up. You can use them to unlock the azimuth multi-cannons, so they're worth grabbing. And if scouts have had a decent boost in populated alerts, invasions and controls, It means people who are not hardcore anti-Xeno pilots have options to kill them in controls instead of interceptors and still feel like they're making a contribution. Salvage is not tested in controls at this point. If I get any information on that, I'll let you know on here. Thargoid probes weren't tested either, but they're few and far between. Probably worth picking up if you've got a corrosive resistant cargo rack or two. Otherwise, don't stress it, because escape pods and boxes appear in every single signal source in an alert, except for two. The non-human signal source threat 4, where you find the Orthrus, and the AX ship signatures, where you get AX NPCs wanting repairs, and it's not clear what helping them does anyway, so I ignore those and go for the pods and boxes. For me, I tend to separate the tasks of Orthrus hunting and salvage and do one or the other. But there's no reason why you couldn't do both at once. Collect salvage while waiting for the Orthrus signals to turn up. The reason why I don't is that I use a serious anti-Xeno missiles for killing Orthruses, and they're not so great for killing scouts with, so I'm using the Python for salvage and the Python Mark II for Orthrus killing. But you've got options. If you pick up salvage where there's no scouts already, it triggers them to jump in, so you can just leave and you don't have to fight them at all. I've done both, and if the scouts are already there, I've fought them, and I've also just ignored them and grabbed a salvage and trusted the shield to protect me. If you want, you could put a few turreted anti-Xeno multi-cannons on the ship, so they can have a pop at any scouts that are already there, or any that catch you on the way out, leaving you to concentrate on picking up the pods and boxes. And that might be a good way to do it. I said in a video a long time ago that I wouldn't mind going from signal source to signal source, picking up pods, killing scouts, killing the occasional Orthrus and so on, if it made progress, and now it does. It's not a bad way to clear unpopulated alerts. Certainly a lot more interesting than sampling, which was the only way to reasonably clear them before. Play about with a few different builds and see what works for you. It's perhaps not the most exciting thing to do, but trust me, compared to sampling, it's like the difference between a nice walk in the park and having surgery. If you're doing salvage, then remember to take some ECMs, because when you jump out to go to the rescue ship to hand in the salvage, you will be hyperdicted by a scythe or maybe even two scythes on your first jump out. If you don't have a build that can destroy them, then cycle the ECMs as you boost away. Basilisks, Medusas and Hydras have all had boosts as well. I'm assuming this is everywhere, control, invasion and alert, and again, it's something you can argue should have been the case all along, but at least it is now. I can kill a Cyclops, but the step up to even a Basilisk is a large jump in skill, and killing one should represent this. Rescuing pods from the Titan now affects all Counterstrike systems, not just previously inhabited ones, and not just a limit of 10 anymore. This is interesting as a possible route to mass clearances, but what use we can make of it yet isn't clear. Indra, the Titan we're working on now, has 41 Counterstrikes, but it would take something in the region of 63,000 pods to clear them all. Now that may not be an insurmountable task, considering that collecting thousands of samples used to hit those kind of numbers anyway, but it's complicated by the fact that you can't put a buy order for pods on a carrier. That simple change would allow us to stockpile them, but without it, people can only store pods on their own carrier, if they have one, which severely hampers any operations like that. Plus, do we really want to go back to that? Do we want to replace stockpiling samples with stockpiling pods? I don't. If the progress of any control wasn't put back by 33% every week and just carried over with none of it removed, then we could just sell them as we collect them, and they would have a slow, gradual effect. But if that effect is going to get wiped out every Thursday, then stockpiling them until you can fully clear systems with them and the other activities you can use, that's the only option, and that puts us back in the same boat as we were with sampling, having to hang on to pods until the time is right to blitz a load of systems at once. It's not fun. If that 33% penalty every Thursday was removed, then not only would pod collection be more viable, but of course it would be having this slow but constant effect on clearing the Titan until it went down, but also it would be bringing back the importance of the abducted, which was built up as a big story for months and then just swept under the carpet with a throwaway article saying, yeah, most of them have been rescued now. The rest, we don't want to sacrifice them, but we're going to. With these changes and the previous ones, we are now back to clearing all of the alerts in a week if we want to. Our alliance is concentrating on Indra, but if we're going to go to the other populated alerts around the other Titans to do rescues, along with Ida, that gives people who want to carry on doing rescues and deliveries something to do as well, and it seems like that's going to be the plan. Although at the rate they're getting cleared out, it maybe gives us something to do till the weekend on that front. We're not salvaging or thrust killing in the other unpopulated alerts, only the ones around Indra, but other players are getting the message and they're making a dent on those. For any given Titan now, since these changes, to win against any Titan, all you have to do is take out all of its alerts in the week that they appear to stop it gaining any new systems, and then take out at least one control, and you'll be reducing it. Incredibly slowly, of course, but that's the bare minimum you need to do to stop a Titan from gaining any new systems and reducing the number it already has. It'll still take months of steady work to clear the rest of them, so don't think that because it's all been made more fair and easier in one way that it's all been made easier. It hasn't. Making something easier in one way doesn't mean it suddenly becomes easier in every way. That's a very narrow-minded, tunnel-visioned way of looking at it. There are still going to be very specific challenges and a lot of work to do. But if we simply carry on steadily working away at it, we will bring the rest of the Titans down, while we wait to see if this is all there is, or if there's going to be another stage to this war, or if the nature of the war changes any further. We're getting mixed messages from FDev about that at the moment. Arthur says don't get cocky, but they're also saying that people want the war over. And then you've got Paul saying things like, we may not have seen the last of Thargoid invasions yet. So it's all very ambiguous. Is it going to carry on for a bit, or is it going to end? We don't really know. Or is this, as we've long suspected, and I've personally hoped, only the first stage? And the second stage will be a lot more interesting than just attacking beachheads and clearing supply lines. Otherwise, we'll just keep plugging away until they're all gone. Stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.